Hello and welcome to this tutorial from skills.gm digital skills training courses. In this tutorial I am going to help you understand what a sequence is in Adobe Premiere Pro CC. The reason why I created this tutorial is to help the beginners in video editing, especially those using Adobe Premiere Pro CC, so that they can exactly know what a sequence is. Now, as you can see, I have a brand new Adobe Premiere Pro CC project, and there is no sequence. If you look at on the timeline here, it says no sequence. So I'm going to import some videos here and show you how you can create a sequence in Premiere Pro. So first I'm going to show you the videos that I'm going to use on this tutorial. So here I have 4 different videos with different resolutions. Now if you look at here, I have a 480p video, I have a 720p video, and I also have a 1080p video and a 4K resolution video, Ultra HD. And I'm just gonna bring these videos on the timeline so that you can see what is going to happen. So I'm going to import one of the videos. I'm going to import the one that is the 4K video. So I'm going to drag it here in this section. I'm going to. So if you look at the video right now, the video is a 4K resolution. That's why I label it that way. You see, 2160p. 2160 is a 4K resolution. Now you can check a video's resolution because most of the time you already know. If at all you are the one who shot the video, probably you already know the resolution of the video. But in case you have been given some shots to edit which you did not shoot, you can check the resolution in this way. Let me show you. So going back to the folder, so when you right click on a video footage, you can go to properties, and when you go to details, you will see. So if you see you concentrate on the frame width and the height, so you'll see that this video was shot at 3840 by 2860, which is Ultra HD, or sometimes called 4K, and the frame rate is set at 25 frames per second. And then the other one, which is a 1080p video, as you can see, a 1080p video is usually 1920 by 1080, and this one, the frame rate, it was set at 29.97 frames per second. And then the 720p video was set at 50 frames per second, and then the frame width is 1280 by 720. And this low resolution video was set at 50 frames per second, and then the frame width is 854 by 480. So that's how you know the resolution or the frame width and height of a particular video. Now you can also know it when you import the video here. So if I right click on the video, I can still go to properties, and then I'll be able to see the details of that particular video. Or I can also switch from icon view to list view so that I can see all the videos, their resolution. So as you can see, you have different columns here, because you're seeing the frame rate here, and when you scroll to the right, you can also see where you have video info, then you'll know that this is a 4K video footage. So basically, let's see how to use this video and then create a sequence. So most of the time, if you can simply drag a video on the timeline to automatically create a sequence, or you can drag the video on this new item icon here, and then that will also help you create a sequence. So let's see how that works. Now the moment you do that, it automatically creates a sequence on your timeline using the resolution of this video. So if you look at here, even the sequence name is 2160p because it picks that name from the video that you drag into the timeline. So right now the sequence here is a 4K timeline. So we can verify that by going to sequence settings, and as you can see, you will see the editing mode, you will see the time base. So remember, the video is 25 frames per second, and the frame sizes are here, right? And then you have the pixel ratio. So right now we are having a 4K sequence. So as you can see, now you have two similar videos, but only one of them is a video. Now you can see it through here. If you look at these two videos, the icons are different. So whenever you see this, the moment you place your mouse pointer, it will tell you that this is a sequence. And then when you place your mouse pointer here, it will also show you that this is a video. You understand? As you can see, there's a video icon here. So most of the times beginners confuse when they see two similar videos, but all you have to look at is to differentiate a sequence between a video is these icons. Concentrate on this icon. So this is your sequence, and this is what is representing what is here right now. Because for example, if I delete this, let's say I right click on click clear, so the timeline has been deleted, the sequence has been deleted. So that means that was actually representing the sequence, right? So let me just undo so that it can come back. Then I can double click, and then I will have the sequence back. So now let's say for example I bring in another video. Let's say I bring the 1080p video. Now this one is a 1080p video, so let's just say I drag that video and bring it here, for example. If I want to bring only the video, I can just double click, and then when I come into the source monitor here, I can just maybe pick a portion from the video and then use this icon to drag only the video, right? So let's see what's happening here. I'm dragging. You see what happens? The video that is on top here, it's extremely small in the preview window here. Why? Because the sequence is a 4K resolution or a 4K sequence. You understand? So if I bring in a 1080p video, this is what is going to happen. The sequence settings is higher than the video that I brought in right now. So how do I fix this problem? Is to right click on this video, that is the 1080p video. As you can see, there's a lot of gap here, so do not scale it. Now most people will do it like this. They will double click on the video and then they scale to make sure that it fits, right? And others might also go to the effects control and then go to scale and then start scaling the video. Understand? But I would recommend using this option. You can just right click on the video and say set the frame size. So this will automatically fit the video inside that actual frame, that's the 4K frame. So let me bring another one. So I'm going to bring a 720p video, and let me just pick some portions from that video also. Now as you can see, if I drag that one also, you realize that that one is even going to be smaller than the previous one, because this one is 720p resolution, right? So I can use a similar thing and then set the frame size so it will fit inside that frame. So basically that's what happens when you are using a 4K resolution. So now the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to delete this sequence. I'm going to delete this sequence and create another sequence based on a video here. So let's say for example I'm going to create a sequence using the 1080p video. So I'm just going to drag that footage on the icon here so that it will automatically create a sequence based on the frame size of this video, the frame size and the frame rate of this video. So I have a sequence. Now I'm not having a 4K sequence but a 1080p sequence, right? So on a 1080p sequence, let's say I want to bring a 4K video on a 1080p sequence. So let me just take some portion from this video and then drag it inside this. Now as you can see, there is a lot of footages that are cut out from this 4K video. Why? Because I brought that video or that footage on a 1080p timeline. Now to see the gap that is left, or to see the gap, what you need to do, you can just change here. Let me just take this to 10%. Yes, 10%. Then I double click here. Then you'll see that all these gaps are missing from this actual video. You understand? Because the video has a higher resolution than the actual timeline. So you can fix this also in the same way we did in the previous sequence that I created. So I can right click on the video. Let me just zoom in a bit. Right click on the video, and then you can say set the frame size. So automatically now it will adopt the frame size of the 1080p. So let me take this back to fit. So as you can see now, that 4K video now fits into the 1080p timeline. You understand? Yes. So that is something that you need to understand. So you can you can have a 4K timeline or a 4K sequence, and then you can bring in a 1080p or a 720p video on the same sequence. So that means on the same sequence you can work with videos that are having different frame sizes and different frame rates, and then you can make them fit, and then you can export them later. So as you can see, like I said earlier, the moment if you look at the sequence name here is 1080p, because that's how I named the first video that I used, right? Because that's how I named this video. So I can change the name of the sequence to something that makes sense. So amongst these, as you can see, this is the one, this is the actual sequence here. So I'm going to change the name of the sequence. So you can just right click and then click rename, or most of the time the shortcut, you can just click here, or you double click, then you can change the name. Let's say I just name this as S1, sequence 1. Then as you can see, the name changes here. Now what you also need to understand that you can have multiple sequences in one project, right? So you can be working on a project, and then you don't need to create a separate project for every episode. Let's say for example I'm working on a drama project, or even I'm working on a movie project, and then probably I would want to create, maybe I can create a sequence for every scene that I'm editing, because most of the time it's difficult to have one timeline when you are editing a very lengthy movie. Having one timeline to edit all those footages might be difficult. But you can have a separate sequence for your scenes, and then when you're done editing all of them, you can create a final timeline where you can combine all those sequences that you have created by just copying and pasting. So let's say also you are working on a series that is going to have a different episode, so you can create multiple sequences for each episode. Now let me just work on this one. Let's say for example, let me just rename this sequence to episode 1, for example. Yes, let me just name it to episode 1. Now I can duplicate this to have episode 2 as a separate sequence by just right clicking and then clicking on duplicate. So as you can see, I will have the same name, just that there will be copy 01 added to the name. So I can rename that one and call it episode 2. So basically they will have the same sequence settings, and then you will be able to work with them simultaneously. So as you can see, so it's as simple as that. So you have episode 1 here, you have episode 2 here. So as you go, you can be duplicated, and then you work on each episode on a different sequence. So one other reason why you also need to duplicate sequences is, for example, to create different versions of the same project. So I can also duplicate sequences to create different versions of the same project. Now for example, let's say I am working on a video project, and every day there is some changes that I make to the sequence or the video project. So every day I can duplicate the sequence, so that just in case if I want to go back to a previous version, I will be able to easily go there, because they are on a separate sequence. So this will also help you on your progress in the project that you're working. So for example, let's say so let me just delete this sequence. Maybe I'm going to change this name again to, for example, version 1. So I'm going to say this is the first version of my project. So maybe the next day I come and then I'm going to work on the project again. Maybe I'm going to add some videos or whatever, or make some changes to the project. So I can simply duplicate it and then, you know, call this version 2. So I still have the original project, or in a separate sequence. So as I am going, I can be creating, or I can be duplicating the sequence, so that I will have the opportunity to go back to different versions of the same project. This is actually very useful, because so let's say for example you have different versions of your project, and then you exported version 2, and then the client says, yes, I think I like version 1. So it's easier for you to just come back and go back to version 1 and export that one again. So this is a good strategy if you are working on projects, for you to be able to have. It's quite easy. You can just duplicate your projects using these sequences. So simple, you just right click, duplicate the sequence, and then you make your new changes. So it has nothing to do with the previous one. So you can simply switch from one version to another. So let me show you another way of creating a sequence. So I'm going to close all those sequences. So in case your sequences are closed, you can just come here and double click them to open them. So let me show you another way of creating a sequence. So I can manually create a sequence by going to File, New, and then click on Sequences. So here I have the opportunity to choose from different available presets. So I'm just going to use the default here, which is inside this folder, high definition video, HD V1080p at 24 frames per second. So I'm going to click OK. Now as you can see, it names it as sequence 2, but if I wanted, I could have just new sequence, and then in this place I can give it a name, for example, right? So but still you can come here and then change the name. So as you can see, this is a 1080p with 24 frames per second sequence. So let's say I want to bring in the 4K footage into this 1080p timeline. Let's see what is going to happen. So the moment I drag to bring that video, I'm going to have this box. Now most of you beginners probably have seen something like this when you're trying to drag a video into your timeline. So what this actually means, as you can see, it says this clip does not match the sequence settings. Change the sequence to match the clip settings. So you have two options here, because you are trying to drag a 4K video on a 1080p timeline. So now it is asking you, do you want to change the sequence to match the video's settings, or do you want to keep it to the existing one? So if you say keep existing settings, so that means this video will now adopt the settings in the current sequence. If you say change sequence settings, then that means the sequence is now going to adopt the settings on the video. So let's say for example I say keep sequence settings, keep existing settings, then automatically the video or the 4K video is going to fit automatically in the 1080p timeline. You understand? So in most cases, probably some of you might be working on 1080p videos, because there's a lot of people that shoot in 4K and export their video in 1080p. You understand? So it depends on what you want. If you still want to export at 4K, make sure you have a 4K timeline. So this is extremely important when you are editing. So in this video I've shown you different ways of working with a sequence. So always understand that in one sequence you can work with videos that have a different frame size. So as you can see, we've worked with 720p, we worked with 1080p, we worked with 4K video on the same timeline. It's just a matter of understanding how to fix that. Now most of the time, if you're working on a project, probably videos that you have shot, you already know the resolution you want your final project to be. So when you're shooting, you have to make sure that you shoot using that frame size. Let's say if I want my video to my exported video to be 1080p, so I would want to shoot at 1080p. You understand? Or some might, like I said earlier, some might shoot at 4K and then at the end of the day they export at 1080p or even 720p. That depends. So just understand, the sequences are very, very important, and you always need to understand how it works. So automatically, if you drag a video onto the timeline, it will create a sequence based on that video. You understand? It will create a sequence based on that video. But if you create a sequence manually using one of the presets and then you drag a video and then their settings are different, so that's the time it will show you that dialog box. Then you have to choose whether to keep the settings, whether the video should adopt the settings of the sequence or the sequence adopts the settings of the video. So this is your choice. So I hope this video was very useful, and I thought that I should make this video to help the beginners that are started using Premiere Pro so that they can understand exactly how to work with sequences. So just always remember, you can create multiple sequences in one project. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel.